Have you ever wondered how a kingdom that was invaded, divided, and nearly fell into foreign hands for over a century could revive so powerfully as to become the most glorious empire in human history? This is not just the story of a nation but also the extraordinary journey of a young king, Ahmose I, who defeated foreign enemies, unified the country, and laid the foundation for the golden age of ancient Egypt. Let's delve into the resounding victories, calculated strategies, and how a seemingly fading civilization rose to become the beacon of the ancient world. Around the 17th century BCE, ancient Egypt, one of the oldest and most advanced civilizations in the world, faced a period of great turbulence. History refers to this era as the Second Intermediate Period, a time of decline when the pharaohs of the Middle Kingdom lost control amidst waves of incursions from a foreign group known as the Hyksos. The Hyksos, believed by many historians to be migrants from the Levant, brought with them a culture and technology that were superior to those of the Egyptians of the time. They not only infiltrated the Nile Delta but also quickly established their authority in Avaris, which became their capital. This resulted in northern Egypt, a fertile land rich with canals and lush plains, falling into the hands of foreign rulers. The arrival of the Hyksos was not merely a military invasion but also a cultural and technological exchange. They introduced chariots, composite bows, and bronze tools, which revolutionized the art of warfare in Egypt. However, these advancements did little to assuage the native population's sense of being occupied. To the Egyptians, the Hyksos were not just foreign invaders but also symbols of weakness and humiliation. Amid this turmoil, the Kingdom of Thebes in southern Egypt managed to maintain some level of control. The pharaohs of Thebes, despite struggling with limited resources, became the center of resistance against the Hyksos. Notably, two prominent pharaohs, Seqenenre and his son Ahmose, led the first offensives against the Hyksos. Seqenenre, known as the Brave King of Thebes, launched a war to drive the Hyksos out of Egypt. However, the disparity in forces and technology prevented him from achieving victory. Ancient records indicate that Seqenenre died in a brutal battle. His skull, discovered with severe wounds, serves as a testament to his fighting until his last breath. His son, Ahmose, carried on the mission, leading a series of larger military campaigns. Ahmose was renowned for employing guerrilla tactics aimed at disrupting the Hyksos' supply lines. However, he too fell short of achieving his goal. Ahmose died suddenly, possibly due to battle wounds or illness, before he could witness the fruits of his arduous efforts. It was in this context that Ahmose I, the younger brother of Ahmose, ascended the throne. Ahmose inherited not only the intense patriotism of his father and brother but also an immense burden to unify Egypt and expel the Hyksos. At a very young age, he faced a monumental challenge requiring not just courage but also wisdom and strategic acumen. Ahmose, however, was not alone. He was supported by his mother, Queen Ahmose, a remarkable figure in Egyptian history. Ahmose was not only a symbol of loyalty but also a military leader during the transitional period. She maintained order and reinforced authority in Thebes while Ahmose was still a child, inspiring him with values of resilience and a fighting spirit. Overall, the Hyksos period was a complex and contradictory chapter in Egypt's history. Under Hyksos' rule, Egypt experienced cultural and technological exchanges, but it also endured division and loss. This was not merely a military struggle but also a battle of will and national identity. Ahmose I, the young king, would inherit not only the painful legacy of his father and brother but also the opportunity to change the destiny of an entire nation. His greatest challenge was not just to defeat the Hyksos but to restore the unity and glory of a once magnificent Egypt. At this point, have you ever wondered how a young king like Ahmose I, born into war and raised in the shadow of defeat, would confront Egypt's most formidable enemy? Let us continue the story to uncover his incredible journey. Ahmose I ascended to the throne at the tender age of about 10. A remarkably young age to bear the heavy burden of leading a kingdom in crisis. However, extraordinary circumstances often create extraordinary leaders. Instead of being hindered by his youth, Ahmose was supported by key figures around him. His mother, Queen Ahmose, acted as regent during the early years of his reign, ensuring that Thebes' authority remained steadfast. Aotep was not just a guardian of her son's throne but a true leader in her own right. She commanded military forces, quelled rebellions in southern Egypt, and upheld the spirit of resistance against the Hyksos. Her commemorative stele found in Thebes honors her as the one who saved Egypt, a testament to her significant contributions during this turbulent period. Under the guidance of his mother and close advisors, Ahmose matured rapidly. He understood that to defeat the Hyksos and unify Egypt, he needed to build a stronger, more disciplined, and better equipped army. One of Ahmose's first initiatives was to modernize Egypt's military by learning from his enemies, the Hyksos. A prime example of this adaptation was the war chariot, a revolutionary weapon introduced to Egypt by the Hyksos. Ahmose not only adopted this technology but also improved it to suit the unique terrain of the Nile Delta and its muddy floodplains. Egyptian chariots were designed to be lighter, more maneuverable, with sturdier wheels, making them more effective in battle. This innovation would later become a decisive factor in Ahmose's military success. In addition, Ahmose equipped his soldiers with new weapons, such as bronze swords, daggers, and composite bows, a powerful and more accurate alternative to traditional bows. He also restructured his army, organizing combat units to enhance coordination between infantry, chariots, and archers. With these preparations in place, Ahmose initiated his campaign against the Hyksos. His first targets were the northern territories of Egypt, where the Hyksos had established key fortresses and garrisons. Instead of launching large-scale assaults like his father and brother, Ahmose employed a strategy of gradual but deliberate advances, focusing on controlling supply routes and besieging critical strongholds. One of Ahmose's first significant offensives took place at a key Hyksos fortress near Abydos. This was not only a military challenge but also a test of his leadership abilities. The battle lasted several days, involving thousands of soldiers from both sides. Thanks to superior tactics and coordinated efforts among his forces, Ahmose secured his first major victory in his military career. This victory was more than a tactical success. It served as a critical morale boost for the Egyptian army. For the first time in decades, the people of Egypt felt a glimmer of hope for an independent future. Ahmose's triumphs began to spread throughout southern Egypt, solidifying his role as a symbol of resistance and national unity. However, Ahmose was well aware that this initial success was only the beginning. The Hyksos still held their most formidable fortresses, including their capital, Avaris, the heart of their power in the delta. To overthrow the Hyksos completely, Ahmose needed a meticulous plan and the patience to execute it. During the preparations for his assault on Avaris, Ahmose focused not only on military matters but also on consolidating political and economic stability in the newly reclaimed territories. He ordered the restoration of canals and dikes, ensuring that agriculture, the backbone of Egypt's economy, was revived. Additionally, he implemented policies to win the loyalty of the liberated regions, encouraging their support for his cause. To bolster his forces further, Ahmose forged an alliance with Nubia, a resource-rich region to the south of Egypt. Nubia provided gold, copper, and troops to support Ahmose's campaign. This alliance demonstrated his foresight and exceptional diplomatic skills. Looking back on the early phase of Ahmose's reign, it is clear that he was not only an ambitious young leader but also a brilliant strategist. Learning from the failures of his father and brother, Ahmose developed a new approach centered on careful preparation and long-term strategy. His ability to adapt and innovate laid the groundwork for what would become a pivotal turning point in Egyptian history. But would Ahmose's military advancements and strategic alliances be enough to defeat the Hyksos at Avaris, their most formidable stronghold? The journey ahead was far from easy, and his enemies were certain to fight to the bitter end. Stay tuned for the next chapter to uncover the decisive battle that would forever alter the fate of Egypt. Ahmose I's journey led to one of the most significant victories in Egypt's history, the siege and recapture of Avaris, the Hyksos capital. This city was not only a political hub but also a symbol of foreign domination over Egypt for more than a century. To reclaim Avaris, Ahmose needed a meticulous plan and unwavering determination. Avaris, located in the Nile Delta, was a heavily fortified city with thick walls and robust supply routes. The Hyksos army stationed there was not only large in number but also well equipped with advanced weaponry, particularly war chariots and composite bows. However, their overconfidence became a vulnerability that Ahmose was determined to exploit. Instead of launching a direct assault, Ahmose employed a prolonged siege, a strategy that required patience and exceptional organizational skills. The Egyptian forces established control posts around the city, cutting off all external supply routes. At the same time, Ahmose commanded his fleet to blockade the waterways, especially key river branches leading into Avaris. This marked the first time in Egyptian history that a large-scale siege strategy was successfully implemented. This approach gradually drained the Hyksos of resources and morale. Inside the city, the Hyksos population faced starvation and disease, while their soldiers grew weaker due to a lack of reinforcements. Meanwhile, Ahmose's army remained well supplied with food, weapons, and fresh troops from southern Egypt. Nevertheless, the siege was not without challenges. The Hyksos launched numerous fierce counterattacks in an attempt to break the Egyptian encirclement. Intense battles erupted around the city's outskirts, with heavy casualties on both sides. However, Ahmose demonstrated superior leadership, organizing his forces efficiently, leveraging the terrain, and deploying war chariots effectively to counter the Hyksos' offensives. After months of siege, the decisive moment finally arrived. With the Hyksos on the brink of collapse, Ahmose ordered a full-scale assault on Avaris. His army, meticulously organized into coordinated units of infantry, archers, and chariots, launched attacks from multiple directions. This was not merely a display of brute strength but a masterclass in tactical brilliance. The walls of Avaris fell one by one. Despite their fierce resistance, the Hyksos could not withstand the might and cohesion of Ahmose's forces. After a bloody battle, Avaris fell to Ahmose. This monumental victory not only liberated northern Egypt but also marked the end of Hyksos' domination. Following the capture of Avaris, Ahmose did not relent. He pursued the Hyksos eastward, beyond Egypt's borders. Historical records indicate that Ahmose launched military campaigns deep into southern Palestine to ensure the Hyksos would never threaten Egypt again. This demonstrated his resolve to secure Egypt's borders and assert its dominance. The victory at Avaris was more than just a military triumph. It was a symbol of Egypt's reunification and resurgence. To the Egyptian people, Ahmose was not only a king but also a hero who restored their nation's glory after over a century of subjugation. His success was rooted not just in military might but also in his wisdom, strategic foresight, and exceptional leadership. Avaris, once a symbol of occupation, now became the starting point of a new era, the New Kingdom, the most powerful and prosperous period in ancient Egyptian history. Ahmose's achievements not only reclaimed the nation but also laid the foundation for an empire that would endure for over a millennium. After the resounding victory at Avaris and the expulsion of the Hyksos from Egypt's borders, Ahmose I faced an equally challenging task: restoring the unity and stability of the nation. The prolonged war had left severe consequences, not only on the infrastructure but also on the people's morale. Ahmose understood that a military triumph alone could not ensure sustainability if he could not rebuild a prosperous and unified Egypt. The first step Ahmose took was consolidating his power across the entire territory. Although the Hyksos had been defeated, the northern regions of Egypt were still heavily influenced by their culture and ideology. To restore unity, Ahmose implemented a skillful political campaign to win the hearts of the people in the newly liberated areas. He issued pardons to individuals and families who had collaborated with the Hyksos and encouraged them to participate in the country's reconstruction process. Economically, Ahmose focused on reviving agriculture, the backbone of Egypt's economy. Famine and abandoned farmlands during the Hyksos period had significantly reduced food production. To address this issue, Ahmose ordered the reconstruction of damaged canals and dikes, ensuring that the Nile's waters could flow into agricultural areas. Major irrigation projects were also launched to enhance agricultural productivity and provide employment for the people. Additionally, he promoted the development of trade. The expulsion of the Hyksos not only opened new trade routes but also allowed Egypt to re-establish commercial relations with neighboring nations such as Nubia, the Levant, and Crete. precious commodities like gold, copper, and cedar wood were imported to aid in rebuilding cities and temples. This robust economic recovery laid a solid foundation for the New Kingdom era. Religion played an indispensable role in consolidating power and uniting the country. Ahmose leveraged religion to create a shared symbol for all Egyptians. He ordered the expansion of the Temple of Amun at Karnak, elevating this deity to the center of Egyptian worship. Amun was revered as the protector of the entire kingdom, and Ahmose himself was regarded as the earthly embodiment of the gods. This not only solidified his authority but also fostered a sense of cohesion among the social classes. A notable aspect of this period was the role of royal women, particularly Queen Aotep and Ahmose's wife, Queen Ahmose Nefertari. Both played crucial roles in consolidating power and maintaining political stability. Ahmose Nefertari was granted the title, God's Wife of Amun, a prestigious position that underscored her religious authority and affirmed her influence in the court. Moreover, Ahmose implemented administrative reforms to ensure that the state management system operated more efficiently. He appointed loyal and capable officials to oversee the newly liberated regions and re-established the tax system to fund major reconstruction projects. While focusing on Egypt's recovery, Ahmose did not neglect military strength. His army was not only a defensive force but also a tool for territorial expansion and maintaining Egypt's influence in the region. He launched military campaigns in Nubia, not only to exploit its rich gold resources but also to secure control over southern trade routes. All of Ahmose's efforts to restore and rebuild Egypt laid the foundation for a period of remarkable growth that spanned centuries. From the ashes of occupation, he reconstructed a kingdom that was not only militarily powerful but also economically and culturally rich. His leadership was not just a personal triumph but a testament to the strength and determination of the Egyptian people in protecting and reviving their civilization. With the defeat of the Hyksos, the reconstruction of the nation, and the consolidation of power across the territory, Ahmose I laid the foundation for a new era in Egyptian history, the New Kingdom. This was not only a period of renaissance after a century of turmoil but also a golden age when Egypt emerged as a regional power with influence extending far beyond the Nile's borders. After unifying Egypt, Ahmose continued to expand the kingdom's territory to the south. He launched military campaigns to assert control over Nubia, a land rich in resources, particularly gold. These campaigns not only brought wealth but also strengthened Egypt's authority throughout the region. To ensure the loyalty of the southern territories, Ahmose established a robust administrative system, appointing officials tasked with governance and oversight. This was a crucial step in maintaining long-term stability in the newly annexed lands. To the east, Ahmose conducted military campaigns into the Levant, driving out the remnants of the Hyksos and establishing Egyptian influence in the area. Control over trade routes brought not only economic benefits but also enhanced Egypt's political and military strength. These campaigns laid the groundwork for later conquests by renowned pharaohs like Thutmose III and Ramses II. One of Ahmose's most remarkable legacies was the rebuilding of temples and public works throughout Egypt. After decades of destruction and neglect under the Hyksos, temples, monuments, and irrigation systems were reconstructed or newly built, symbolizing the revival of Egyptian civilization. In Thebes, Ahmose expanded the Karnak temple, transforming it into the largest religious center of ancient Egypt. Worship of Amun became a symbol of loyalty to tradition and a tool for reinforcing the king's authority. As he was seen as the embodiment of the gods, Ahmose also initiated the construction of royal tombs, signaling a shift in perceptions of death and the afterlife. He chose to build his tomb in the hard stone region of Abydos, associated with Osiris, the god of the afterlife. This decision set a precedent for the development of the Valley of the Kings, where later New Kingdom pharaohs would be laid to rest. Ahmose's accomplishments extended beyond military and architectural achievements to include administrative and economic reforms. He reinstated the tax system to ensure that revenues from agriculture, trade, and resource extraction were effectively utilized for national projects. Administrative officials under his reign not only managed territories but also oversaw food distribution and the reconstruction of war-torn regions. A significant part of Ahmose's legacy was the elevation of women's roles within the royal court. Queen Ahmose I, his wife, was not only a political partner but also a figure of immense influence in religious and cultural life. She was granted the title, God's Wife of Amen, a position that symbolized both religious authority and power. Revered as a goddess after her death, her worship endured for generations. Under Ahmose's reign, Egypt was not merely restored but elevated to unprecedented heights. The nation expanded beyond the natural borders of the Nile, evolving into an empire whose influence stretched from Nubia to the Levant. Ahmose was not just a king but a trailblazer who laid the groundwork for the great pharaohs who followed. In retrospect, the legacy of Ahmose I lies not only in his military victories or grand architectural achievements but also in the revival of the Egyptian spirit, a resilient spirit. Unyielding to any foe, he closed a painful chapter in history and opened the most glorious era of ancient Egypt, one that endured for centuries to come. Ahmose I not only liberated Egypt but also ignited an era of power that lasted for centuries, leaving an eternal legacy in the heart of humanity. The story of this young pharaoh is a testament to the unwavering determination and indomitable spirit of the ancient Egyptians. If you love history and want to explore more inspiring journeys like this, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any upcoming stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.